I went shopping. This is what I got. So if you're anything like me, you went to 5th grade, you got hit with a bunch of ancient Egypt stuff. But here's one thing I don't really know. Why are the pyramids pyramids? The answer is filled with best guesses, but it includes religion, politics, history, conspiracies.
Pyramids.
Actually, no, we're leaving out the crazy in this video. Pyramids. And it helped me appreciate ancient Egypt for the first time. Now let's start off this video with a montage of everything I knew about ancient Egypt before I started this video.
How'd you get so funky?
So I am going to excavate this pyramid during the course of this video. Apparently there is one of 6 different objects inside. Which one is inside this pyramid? That is the hook. Also knowledge of the history of ancient Egypt. So this is the new chapter in my series, Why the Thing is a Thing. Here's an awesome graphic I cooked up. And so as a result of that, I'm not giving you an overview of Egyptian history. I'm giving you a shape-obsessed view of the pyramids. Shape, 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 shapes. Can I say shapes more? Okay. There is also a lot of crazy stuff out there that I had to wade through.
The Great Pyramid was sending microwave signal to a satellite.
So eventually this paper here, it unlocked some awesome books and info that I ended up using. And I think I have a pretty good answer, but I want to stamp a giant asterisk right here. Ancient histories present unique challenges for historians, and even the most certain of stories are best thought of in terms of probabilities. Also aliens! There are aliens that were communicating through these pyramids. So right now I've put on screen the first pyramid-y pyramid around 2550 BC. But what do you have before then? Drawn from this book, you're starting out with pits and sand. We're talking 4300 to 3000 BC. Then these people are like, wait a second, somebody's gonna rob my grave if I'm just putting it in a pit. I don't want that. So they develop another plan. So as Egyptian dynasties ramp up, they start building these things called mastabas. These mud houses that are protective and maybe like 10% as cool as a pyramid. And underground, they start building these massive structures that are completely fascinating, but you know what? This is violating my shape-only focus. You can learn more about mastabas if you want. I'm telling you all this because around 2650 BC, a pharaoh named Dozer changes the game. Yes, that is my picture of him. I'm gonna stick with this portrait style just as a reminder of how hard this ancient history stuff is. Anyway, Dozer builds a pyramid that changes the game. A step pyramid. Look at this one closely. This isn't what historians call a true pyramid, it's a step pyramid, because it's not totally smooth on the sides. How did it happen? Dozer had his architect, Imhotep, say the mummy was not so useless. Although, to our knowledge, Imhotep never met Brendan Fraser. But what Imhotep did was, he, in theory, designed mastabas that could be stacked. That's what a step pyramid is. Stacked mastabas. 2 things here. Yes, this really is like shaving companies throwing more blades onto razors just because they could. Stack the mastabas! But also, Imhotep is using a more durable form of construction, one that can lead to bigger structures. And with this step pyramid, we're getting a lot closer to this pyramid shape. But then it takes another pharaoh to actually make it happen. All right, there he is, my main man, Sneferu. If you ask me, he is the reason that pyramids are pyramids, but he is also the culmination of religious and historical and even construction trends. So for context, I probably made it sound like the pyramid shape was basically just a carvana, but for mastabas. That's not really the full picture. It was a really attractive shape because it reflected some Egyptian creation stories. The idea is that there was this big mound, Benben, from which creation sprang forward, with a little coaxing. Some people say they got it because of the way big piles of silt showed up when the Nile receded. Benben is essentially a pyramid, and the pyramid-shaped stone that sits atop a lot of pyramids and obelisks, it's called a Benben too, or it's called a pyramidion. The connection between the myth and the shape is pretty clear. So this shape, it symbolized an important part of creation. And Sneferu was around when sun worship was getting big in Egypt too. Suddenly, everyone was focused on Re, the sun god, in a bunch of ways. Okay, this one I will give you a historical picture of. With the sun trending as an object of religious veneration, the pyramid got reoriented from north-south to east-west, and a true pyramid shape, like the sun's rays, was suddenly a lot more appealing. He is making all of this up? Well, no, I'm just paraphrasing the work of Roth and Edwards. People can't even agree how to spell Sneferu, and you think I'm dumb for suggesting aliens? Yes. So Sneferu had a clear religious goal, a true pyramid that built off what Djoser had started. And the pyramid at Meidum, it was his masterpiece. No, it looks like that. It turns out that building a true pyramid is super hard. They think that it collapsed. But then he succeeded with his next masterpiece, the bent pyramid. Okay. Yeah, you could probably tell by the name bent pyramid that this one didn't go so well either. They think that they had to adjust course about halfway through to make it more stable. So that's why it looks like that. Finally, Sneferu makes the red pyramid, the first true pyramid. Was it supposed to be red? Well, no, it wasn't red at the time. Still looks better than the Meidum one. All these pyramids took so much stone that people theorized that conquests in Libya and Nubia actually funded the work. This was a big deal. And this is the momentum that you've got going into the pharaoh Khufu. You might know him as Cheops, with the Great Pyramid of Giza. With the sun worship trend growing and growing, bigger pyramids were the way to go. This is how much bigger the Great Pyramid is. But after the Giza group, pyramids became kind of spotty. And today, we're just left with the shape. Now I'm gonna pyramid all over my floor. I got an Egyptian queen. All right, so what is the takeaway? What's the takeaway? Aliens! Aliens are the takeaway. They're right here, and they're gonna take away us. No. So even with the uncertainty surrounding the history here, I am struck by how short-lived the pyramid trend was. You have supersized mastabas lead to a mega mastaba, lead to a golden age of true pyramids, and then it's over. Egyptian culture evolved. Yeah, of course, but these things have been around so long that I didn't at least think of that kind of cultural evolution happening. But it's obvious that it did. These things seem so permanent because they've been around so long. For a brief period, powerful people were convinced that these were the machines that could help grant them some sort of eternal life. And in some ways, maybe they were right. Hey, thanks for watching. If you haven't been here before, this is a personal channel where I do personal videos, history videos, stuff like that. I hadn't gotten into much of this ancient history before, and I kind of enjoyed it. So I posted links to a lot of the resources that I used in the description. I was summing up a lot of stuff really quickly. So if you want to learn more, do feel free to nerd out on that, or let me know in the comments what you think I should have included in the video that would have been helpful. That's it for this one. Please subscribe, like, or comment if you can. It helps out this channel. And thanks a lot for watching. Gonna go get rid of this now. Bye.